I spent 8 years in prison for a murder I didn't commit. My name is Marcus Webb. 8 years ago, I was convicted of murdering my wife. The judge looked me in the eyes and sentenced me to prison. My family cried. Reporters wrote their stories. And everyone believed they had just seen a killer get what he deserved. The only problem was, I didn't kill her. My wife, Jennifer, was the love of my life. I would never have hurt her. But the evidence said otherwise. My fingerprints were on the knife. My car had been seen near the crime scene. The security cameras that should have proven I was somewhere else had mysteriously failed. Everything pointed to me. So I was convicted. For 8 years, I lived inside Blackstone prison while the real killer walked free. I thought I would die behind those walls. Then one morning, everything changed. The guard wasn't supposed to be there. I noticed it immediately. For 8 years, I had memorized every routine, every schedule, and every guard in the prison. So when Officer Reeves appeared outside the maintenance corridor instead of making his usual rounds, I knew something was wrong. Curious, I followed him. I slipped into the maintenance corridor and stayed hidden. A few moments later, I heard voices. One belonged to Reeves. The other belonged to Warden Cross. Then I heard a name that made my blood run cold. Blake. My wife's brother. Blake keeps paying us, the warden said. As long as Marcus stays in prison, nobody asks questions. My heart nearly stopped. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. For 8 years, I had wondered who really killed Jennifer. Now I finally had my answer. Blake. The man I trusted. The man who stood beside me at Jennifer's funeral. The man who testified against me in court. The man who watched me lose everything. Back then, I didn't know what had happened on the night Jennifer died. But I would soon learn the truth. 8 years earlier, Jennifer had been helping Blake organize paperwork at his real estate office. While sorting through old files, she discovered records showing that Blake had stolen nearly $2 million from his company. Jennifer loved her brother. She wasn't trying to destroy him. She wanted to help him. She planned to tell me the truth and convince Blake to confess. But Blake panicked. That evening, he started drinking. The more he drank, the more terrified he became. He knew Jennifer would tell me. He knew his life was about to fall apart. Late that night, he followed Jennifer to our house. When she opened the door, she immediately smelled the alcohol on his breath. According to Blake's confession, Jennifer begged him to do the right thing. She wanted him to turn himself in and get help. Instead, an argument broke out. The argument became a struggle. During that struggle, Blake grabbed a kitchen knife. He later claimed he never meant to kill her. Maybe that's true. Maybe it isn't. All I know is that Jennifer ended up dead on our kitchen floor. And instead of calling for help, Blake chose to save himself. He staged the crime scene to point directly at me. He used a knife I had handled before. He drove my car through the neighborhood so witnesses would remember seeing it. Then he paid someone to tamper with the security cameras at my office. By the time the police arrived, I looked guilty. The jury believed it. The court believed it. And I lost 8 years of my life. Standing in that maintenance corridor, listening to the warden, I felt something inside me snap. 8 years. 8 years stolen from me. 8 years away from my family. 8 years mourning my wife while being blamed for her death. When Reeves came around the corner, I acted without thinking. I grabbed a metal pipe and struck him. Then I confronted the warden. Why? I asked. The warden looked terrified. Blake paid us, he admitted. We made sure you stayed here. That was all I needed to hear. I knocked him out and ran. That night, I escaped. I slipped through a weak spot beneath the prison fence and disappeared into the woods. For the first time in 8 years, I was free. At least physically. For several days, I hid in abandoned buildings and survived on whatever food I could find. I knew the police were searching for me. I knew every news channel was talking about my escape. Then something unexpected happened. The prison launched an investigation. The conversation I overheard had exposed years of corruption. A retired detective reopened Jennifer's case. She followed the money trail. She followed the lies. Eventually, she found Blake. At first, he denied everything. But the evidence kept piling up. Finally, he broke. He confessed. He admitted stealing the money. He admitted following Jennifer home. He admitted the argument. He admitted framing me. Everything came crashing down. The warden was arrested. Officer Reeves lost his job. And my conviction was overturned. I didn't know any of that at the time. I was hiding in an abandoned barn when I heard the news on a small battery-powered radio. Former inmate Marcus Webb has been declared innocent. I sat there in silence. For 8 years, I had dreamed of hearing those words. And now they were finally real. But there was still one problem. I was an escaped prisoner. I could keep running. Or I could face the consequences. For 3 days, I thought about it. Then I made my decision. I walked into the nearest sheriff's office and turned myself in. To my surprise, the charges didn't stick. The courts ruled that my imprisonment had been built on corruption and lies. A few months later, I was living in a small apartment and working a simple job. It wasn't the life I used to have. Nothing could give me back those 8 years. Nothing could bring Jennifer back. But at least the truth was finally known. 3 years later, I visited Jennifer's grave. I stood there quietly and placed flowers beside her headstone. There were so many things I wanted to say, but no words felt right. So I simply stood there for a moment. Then I turned around and walked away. Because after everything that had happened, I finally understood something. Justice couldn't give me my old life back, but it could give me a chance to build a new one. And for the first time in a very long time, I was finally free.